Hey Bookaholics, so welcome back to another video. Today I am going through my February wrap-up. In the month of February, I managed to read quite a decent amount of books. I also had a couple of vlog projects on the go. I also went on holiday to Scotland. So it was quite an eventful month for me regarding reading, and most of the time a really good time. I actually only have one 5-star read though out of all the books that I read. I do have a DNF and a 1 star. Do you know how long it's been since I've given a book 1 star? I checked because I just DNF books normally. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about all of the books that I have read for this month. We're going to do these by vlog project, and then I'll just end it on the ones that aren't part of a project so that we can get those talked about as well. First vlog project we're going to talk about is my horror vlog. This year I am doing a fantasy reader reads horror series of vlogs, very much like last year's A Fantasy Reader Reads Romance vlogs. I started the year by doing a crossover of the two and reading horror romances, and I had a decent time with this one. I don't think anything in it was a new favorite. I don't think any of them are going to be ones that I'm going to think about very strongly. They're not ones that I'm going to carry with me. They are ones that I did enjoy. The first one that I read for that vlog was The Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. This one is the story of a young woman who is the daughter of a wealthy landowner who falls in love with someone of a lower class. At one point, Nestor, the love interest, believes that she is dead, so he decides to go off to try and make his fortune and drown his grief. She believes that he's been abandoned by her. However, they then encounter each other and also discover that the conflict that is currently happening is made worse by the fact that there are vampires. I really vibed with this. I really liked the atmosphere. I really liked the historical setting. I really liked the romance between the two. I liked the characters. All of that was really good. I don't know if I would consider this horror. It's gothic, so it's got the vibes. The vibes are right for the horror, and the vampires are very creepy. So there is that. So I can understand why this is classed as horror. But if you are looking for a horror that is actually horrifying as opposed to just atmospheric, this might not do it for you. So it depends on what you're looking for in your horror as to whether or not this would work for you. It worked for me, especially as a history nerd. I really liked the setting of this. I really liked the atmosphere that was created by it and the way that was woven into horror of the actual historical horrors combined with the paranormal ones to make for a very critical experience regarding history. And I really appreciate books that do that. The next one that I read for that vlog was Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This is one that is a werewolf romance, but not in your traditional sense, because our protagonist is in fact the werewolf. She comes back to her small town that she grew up in. She's now a big city girl. She likes being a big city girl, but she's come home because she's going to help her twin sister because her twin sister is pregnant. And it seems like the partner has left her. I really liked the contemporary element of this because this is basically a contemporary with a lot of heart and a lot of discussion around family, around people, around psychology, around yourself, around romance. And then we just got a werewolf element in the background. So this is the one I would least consider horror, and this is more for fans of contemporary fiction. I think if you like contemporary fiction, you will enjoy this one. It does have a little bit of the grossy bits from horror, so you kind of need the ability to withstand horror, but plot and story-wise, this is definitely much more of a contemporary than anything else. I liked our protagonist Rory. She was very messy. I felt for her a lot. I really liked the way that we had this messy dynamic. I like that the problems in her life are directly attributed to certain things, but don't vilify the people. And I can't explain further than that. Do check content warnings because there are quite a few in here and they're quite serious. But I think they did a really good job of not vilifying people while still holding them responsible for the impact they're having on Rory's life. And I like that. But also at the same time, we're seeing Rory needing to be held accountable also a little bit for the way she's impacting other people's lives. So I like that, and I am glad that I read it. I enjoyed this a lot. Not necessarily converted me any further towards horror, but I enjoyed the book. And the last one that I read for that vlog was Someone You Could Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. Now this is one that I liked. I didn't love it as much as everyone else seems to. I cannot praise it enough for its ability to combine cozy and horror. And I genuinely mean it when it did both. We have graphic body horror. We also have small town cozy fantasy romance. Don't tell me how it did it, but it did it. And it was wonderful for that. There were issues that I had regarding the relationship, mostly that we have a little bit of insta-love. Now, it is attributed to the way that our character is, because in the story we are following a monster named Shisheshan, who is a body shifting monster. She is attacked because the people of this village believe that she is a monster that is causing them much distress. Then she hides herself as a human, manages to escape, and then is found by another human woman who heals her. And then they fall in love with each other. Again, given the nature of the monster, given the nature of secession, I understand the insta-love a little bit. I also understand why it would be reciprocated given the way that the love interest has lived their life and the experiences that they have had. It's not that I don't understand it, it's just not something that I enjoy in books. I don't like insta-love, and I don't like how quickly and intensely this became that. That being said, we have incredible discussions here around asexuality, being romantic without being a sexual being, the way that we have queer romance in here, the way that we have trauma and familial bonds, obviously the way that different people's mindsets work. There's so many things in there that I really did appreciate. And there were side characters in there that I really liked as well. We've got a bear called Blueberry. I liked this story. I think it was a well-written book. I just didn't love it like everyone else does. Everyone else seems to have fallen madly in love with this book. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. You know, the next vlog that I did was when I went to Scotland. I went on holiday to Scotland, and while I was there, I picked up a book by a Scottish author and I read it in its entirety. And that is, I read The Maiden by Kate Foster. This one is a fictionalized version of a historical event. In this story, we are following Christian Nimmo, who was a woman that was arrested in the late 1600s and was tried for having murdered her lover. And it's basically just the author trying to give this woman a story as to why she might have murdered her lover if she did, what that impact was on the people around her. We actually get two perspectives in here and two timelines. We get the timeline after Christian has been convicted and is awaiting sentencing, sort of seeing her interpersonal relationships with her family as they do or don't come and visit her while she's in prison, etc. We also get the past timeline when she first gets married, and then also why she would be taking a lover who happens to be her uncle by marriage. So no incest in a blood relationship way, but you know, whether or not grooming was involved or whether or not there was any kind of forcing of the situation in any way, shape or form. And then we also get the perspective of Violet, who is a sex worker who is employed by James Forrester, who happens to be the man murdered. So we're getting these stories of these two women and then also the two timelines. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more female camaraderie. I understand why there wouldn't be during this time period. I understand all of the precedents that the patriarchy has put in place to make sure that women don't band together. There were certain elements of that in here that I really loved and really appreciated, and I think that me liking the moments that there were made me want more. But I really liked the discussions that we had in here, the way that we displayed the timeline, and also the way this historical setting is put to the forefront. I really enjoyed that, especially having actually visited some of the places that I mentioned in here. So yeah, for the most part, it was really enjoyable. I'm glad that I read it, and I look forward to reading more by this author. I picked up 2 books by this author while I was in Scotland, so the other one is on my TBR, and I'm very excited to give it a go. 2 books that are for a vlog that's not coming out for a while. This is one of the me pre-filming for the summer vlogs, and therefore I'm not going to be able to talk about them, but I just will mention that I read them, is that I did read the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig, which are One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. I'm not going to give you ratings or tell you anything about them, but I have read them, and vlog is coming in the summer. I read 4 books for my spinner wheel vlog. The first one that I got was the Eldia card, which was a rollover from last month, and I read The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. This was fine. It was a fun YA. It was very predictable. It kind of did exactly what I was expecting it to do. It's a pseudo-Victorian story in which we are following Ivy, who is the daughter of a slightly more disgraced family. In this world, there is a fae queen instead of a regular queen. People go during the season, and when the daughters debut, they go and they request some kind of barter. Then the queen will grant them in exchange for something else. During Ivy's elder sister's bargaining season, she then disappeared for I think months, and then came back and can't remember anything that happened. That doesn't look very good on this family in this pseudo-Victorian era, which has tainted Ivy's prospects of marriage. Ivy, in turn, doesn't really know what she wants to bargain for. When the queen announces that her son is going to take a wife, she then decides that she's going to enter into the trials with a load of other girls to see who will be the one that he'll marry. We are following basically these trials now for these girls who are competing for the prince's hand in marriage, because the queen has said that if you enter into the trials to marry the prince, you cannot marry someone else. you cannot take another husband. So there are women that have entered into these trials so that they cannot be forced into marriage. There are women that have gone into these trials because they genuinely want to be the next queen. So we're seeing how these trials play out. We see our protagonist working with the stepbrother of the prince because he wants her to be crowned queen, and we get to find out why. Very excited to read the sequel. I gave it 3 stars. It's not like new favorite territory, but really addictive and really fun, and that is exactly what I wanted from this book. After that, my second and only other spin that I had was I drew the bingo board card, and that meant that I needed to shuffle my bingo boards, and I ended up with the history bingo card. So I needed to read the top row. So we had Regency romance, historical figure, and gothic. Now for Regency romance, I didn't actually read a Regency romance. I read a Victorian romance, but I have specified in the vlog why I'm okay with that. It's all in the vlog. There are many around. You'll see why. And I read the next Lisa Kleypas book. I read It Happened One Autumn. I'm really liking reading Lisa Kleypas. She's second only to Tessa Dare for me out of newer Hanoverian romance authors. I've really enjoyed these works, and the second one was no exception. I plan on continuing the series. I own all the books in the series. I'm excited to get to them. This one, we are following a young woman who is from the Americas. So while in the first one, we are following a young woman who was part of the peerage and was trying to find a peer but happened to be in love with someone who is an entrepreneur. In this one, we come from a woman who is part of a family that is new money, that has come up because of business, is very, very wealthy but doesn't have a title. And we're following those discussions that we were having during the Victorian era of people marrying into American families for money and Americans marrying into British families of peerage. So we've had that happening in this couple, and it's rivals or enemies or confrontational to romantic, I suppose. And they disliked each other to begin with, and then they fall in love with each other. I liked this one. It was very melodramatic. I liked the first one more, but I still really enjoyed this one. I liked the couple. The protagonist is very badass in this one, and I really enjoyed her because of the way that it's critiquing the society, which is always what I want from anything that is a period piece. If it's not critiquing the time period, then what even is the point, you know? So I had a good time with it, and I would recommend. For historical figure, I went with Elizabeth of Lancaster in The King's Sister by Anne O'Brien. I love Anne O'Brien. She is my favorite historical author at the moment when it comes to writing women in history, especially British medieval history to be specific. And in this one, we are following Elizabeth of Lancaster, who is the daughter of John of Gaunt, granddaughter of Edward III, and sister to Henry IV. She is also, however, wife of notorious traitor Sir John Holland, Duke of Exeter. So we have a lot of things going on here. We're during the reign, mostly the reign of Richard II, but we do also go into Henry IV. I really love this. I really love seeing Elizabeth. I really love seeing the characters around her and the way that we're depicting historical figures in a way that is both recognizable to people who know them from history, but also perceiving them from someone who would care about these people around her instead. We got to see a little bit more of Joan of Kent for a second there. I love Joan of Kent. Catherine Swynford as well, another historical figure I found really fascinating. And for the most part, I just had a really good time with this book. I'm not gonna lie. I love Anne O'Brien. I'd recommend, if you're a historical fiction fan and you want to read about more women in history, Anne O'Brien's the way to go. And then the last one for that vlog that I read is for the Gothic prompt, and I DNF'd The Essex Serpent. This is by Sarah Perry. And this is supposedly a Gothic historical fiction in which we are following a young widow who is only recently widowed, and she had an abusive husband. So she's quite happy to be relieved of him. So her and her son decide they're going to go stay in Essex because she has taken up amateur paleontology. And in Essex, in this river, there is believed to be the Essex Serpent. A little bit along the Loch Ness Monster vibes, which our protagonist believes is possibly the last remaining form of a type of dinosaur. So she wants to go and study this dinosaur. However, her belief in this is then causing a bit of an uproar in the superstitions around the area, which puts her at odds, but also in romantic tension with the vicar of this area, who is a married man. I didn't like the pacing or the vibes enough to continue on with this anyway, so I was already not feeling it before we got to the point where the protagonist meets the potential love interest. But as soon as we're meeting a potential love interest with a lovely wife, I will add, that tension just felt really, really icky, and it made me very uncomfortable. And even the idea of, oh, but he's like struggling against it, even if that's where it goes, like, no, Thank you. That's a no from me. Not ideal, not my favorite, but I was bored anyway, regardless of the cheating or whatever. So I just decided to nope out of it. Next up, we have the first half of my Mair vlog, which should be the next video after this one, if everything goes according to plan. So I'm not going to talk too in depth about these. And if you don't want spoilers for the ratings, then you can just go skip ahead. I can leave a timestamp down below. We have 3 books. The first one that I read for that vlog is Cry Voidbringer by Elaine Ho. This is the story of Hammer, who is from this group of people who are tithed from poorer areas and are forced into a group of soldiers who are known for being very brutal and being the most efficient warriors out there. They're kind of like the Spartans of this empire. She really doesn't want to be, but she is, and then she gets dumped on her a godchild. Godchildren are children who seem to be blessed with the powers of the gods. She doesn't want to deal with this child, but she's had them dumped on her and there's nothing she can do about it. However, then she begins to bond with this child who's known as Viridian while they await to see how useful or not Viridian might be, only for it to then be that Viridian might have one of the best powers out there. We are now following Hammer trying to protect Viridian from the world around them. It's a very nihilistic book. It's a very miserable and helpless book, and it discusses the world in here and politics in a way that is really difficult and harrowing, but that is really important, and it's a great one for discussion. Again, I go in a lot of depth about these in the upcoming vlog, so I won't talk about it too much, but I did really enjoy the way that the nihilism and the helplessness is coupled with humanity and affection and those interpersonal connections and the importance of them. And it's still fraught with human and a human emotion instead of just everything kind of sucks, doesn't it? And I really, really did appreciate that, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. The next one I read was the one I was most hesitant to read out of all of the ones that Mair gave me, and that is The First Binding by R.R. Vardy. This one is a Name of the Wind story. It is very similar to The Name of the Wind in the same way that Eragon is reminiscent of Wheel of Time. This one is reminiscent of The Name of the Wind. I think it was a really good homage to Name of the Wind, but we change up the setting, and we also change up who we're talking to, because we're mostly talking to a woman instead of talking to a man as we're telling our story in here. Our protagonist, Ari, is someone who has garnered a name for himself and has potentially helped save the world and also been deemed a monster. He's telling his story and we get to witness it. I really did enjoy this one. I really did like our protagonist. I liked the conversations that we had in here around classism, around the education system, around the way that societies function, the way we perceive heroes, etc. I had a really good time. Again, a lot more discussion in the vlog, but another 4-star read. And the last one that I have to talk about is The Dance of Shadows by Rogbert Payne. This one is one that I really did enjoy. I think that this one is quite reminiscent of a lot of other fantasies that we've seen and spins it on its head. It takes a lot of the tropes that we know, the unready protagonist, the world in collapse, the rise up against authoritarianism and corrupt systems, the way that we are trying to fight oppression, but also even within the lower classes, the mistreatment of different groups of people, etc. All of that I think is handled magnificently in here. I really did find our characters really compulsively readable. I really found the prose to be really good. And for the most part, it's just one that I would definitely recommend you check out if you're a fantasy fan and you're wanting a little bit of nostalgia for things that you know and the comfort of things that you've seen before done in a new way. And this one was also 4 stars. And the last 2, which are the 2 books that I haven't got in a vlog at all. One that I managed to squeeze in between vlogs was I managed to read another Tale of Earthsea, which in this case was Tales of Earthsea. I don't love this series. I wish I did. I talked about it a little bit last month when I read the 4th book. Now I've read the 5th. I have 1 to go. I'm reading this for our fantasy bingo. I don't know if I would have quit if I wasn't using it for our fantasy bingo, because I'm not hating them. I'm just not liking them. And at this point, I've resigned myself to just kind of being interested to see how it all ends, but not feeling very strongly about it. It was a 3-star barely read for me with this one. I wish it was a bit higher. It would probably be more like a 2.75 if I were doing like quarter stars. I'm not going to talk about it very much. One I do have very strong feelings on, we're going to end this on such a low note, I am so sorry, is my book club pick for March. Let me put you up my book club pick. Bear in mind the other person that has read this for the book club has given it 5 stars. So very divisive book. I gave Where the Axe is Buried by Ray Naylor 1 star. I don't think this book did anything. And not even in a way that's like, oh, well, you know, it could have been better. In a way that I rage read this. And the only reason I didn't DNF this is one, because it was for my book club, and two, because my husband read the synopsis, thought this sounds great, read it also for my book club, continued reading it like a madman, and then didn't DNF it. So then he wanted to talk about the ending, so then I had to read the damn book. But I would have DNF'd this book. Let me know if you want me to see if I can drag him into a video where we rant about this book. But obviously, it's going to be a rant, it's going to be spoilery, it's going to be ranty. So I don't know if anyone wants that, because I know that those videos sound really angry. I don't want to sound like I'm attacking people that like this book. I don't have anything against you if you like this book. I just can't see anything redeeming about this book. The prose was ridiculous. The world building was non-existent. The characters were indistinguishable from one another and had the personality of a wet lettuce. The plot, half the time, no one had anything useful to do. I hated this book so viscerally. And me and my husband have had many a discussion about this book and how much we hate it. And I went in, like, he disliked it, and he was like, oh, I really want to know your thoughts, because I wonder if it's me. And I read more literary stuff than he does. He's very much a genre fiction dude. I read more literary stuff than he does. So I thought maybe it's just because it's quite literary. Maybe it's not. He was expecting it to be more dystopia than it is. Maybe it's more literary fiction. I'll give it a go. No. I genuinely went into this thinking, I'm going to have to talk to my husband about it. I'm going to be like, oh, this is a great book, and he's going to hate it. No. We're both on the same page. We hate this book. It's so funny. If I start talking about this, I won't stop. Like, every time me and my husband start talking about this book, it ends up being like a half an hour to an hour long conversation of us raging about this book. So I'm not going to do that now, but I had problems, to say the least. Let me know if you want like a full video rant on this or not, but yeah, that's not going to happen in this, because otherwise this wrap up will just be taken over by my hatred of this book. So that's that. Those are all the books that I managed to read in the month of February, which is a lot of books. I had a lot of reading time, especially because at least a few of those were just on planes, being stuck in an airport. Like, not stuck in an airport, but we got to the airport super early because we pulled an all-nighter instead of paying another night for the hotel, because we're cheap like that. So I literally pulled an all-nighter at an airport. So we just read the entire time that we were there, and then on the plane. I had a lot more time to read than I usually would have, and it shows. Anyway, I'm really glad to have read all these books. I'm very excited for what's to come in the next month. Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them, or based on my liking of these, if you have any recommendations for me. I always want to know. But that is all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you in another one soon. Bye.